Welcome to the Love the Star podcast. It is an Odyssey podcast. I'm Bobby Bell, Dallas Cowboys insider for 105 to the Fan of Dallas, joined as always by former NFL scout Brian Broaddus. He is now the co-host of the G-Bag Nation, 2 to 7 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday on 105 to the Fan of Dallas. He's also the pre- and post-game co-host on the Dallas Cowboys radio network. Brian, we're out here at Cowboys training camp. We're 4 practices in. We get padded practices on Tuesday. What has stood out so far out here in Oxnard, California?
I think, Bobby, the thing that I would like to point out first, and we were waiting for this, was what were they going to do with Tyler Guyton? How were they going to play Tyler Guyton? And when we came to camp initially, the first couple of practices, Tyler Guyton was not running with the ones. He was running with the twos. Cooper Beebe was another one that was running with the twos. But yesterday, through the mock game, Tyler Guyton got work with the ones, but it was a glorified walkthrough practice. So we were sitting there thinking, okay, they just doing this just to kind of get him some reps through the walkthrough, and then they're going to go back to Chuma Edoga playing the tackle spot. Well, after today's practice, if you want the Chill Boys ballsy call of the day, there's no reason for Chuma Edoga to play any reps with the ones at left tackle. There's no reason to. I'm sure you can search the Twitter world, the X world, whatever you call that. You can find clips, YouTube worlds of Tyler Guyton blocking Tank Lawrence, blocking Micah Parsons, blocking Marshawn Nealon. It wasn't like he was blocking backup dudes and stuff like that. They threw him out there. His technique wasn't perfect by any means. He was trying to survive a couple of them. Micah Parsons got him on one on the fourth down pass that never got off. He drove Micah. I told Todd Archer, I go, watch this. This is where Micah Parsons wins here. And sure enough, he did. But overall, there is no reason that this kid can't continue to try and stack good days. Now, on Tuesday, we get in pads. It might be a whole different story we're talking about here. But I was encouraged by what I saw from him. I was encouraged by I think it was a very nice competitive period today at the end. I think we've seen, if you start talking about other things that have happened, I think that Jalen Tolbert is off to a really good start as a wide receiver here. There were days where him and Brooks I thought were even. I think Jalen just today separated a little bit more.
Sure.
You've tried to convince me that Tyrone Billy Johnson is a legitimate player and not a country music singer. And he had him a nice day today. They've thrown our corner Carson out there quite a bit. Luafau has been playing quite a bit. I'm really impressed with what Mike Zimmer's been able to do with all these rookie players. Mention Nealon, mention Luafau, mention Carson. He's throwing these young players into the mix and getting to know them. And I think if you asked him, he would tell you that he's pleased with the way that these kids are picking things up.
Yeah. And I think another one of these receivers, similar to, you mentioned Tyrone Billy Johnson, I think Racey McMath had a good day today and has had a good start to camp. I thought Ryan Flournoy was having a good start to camp, very early on before Flournoy ended up getting sidelined and has been working off the side with Britt Brown a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, look, early in camp also a lot, these 4 days that we're through, these are also typically going to be days where you do have receivers shining a little bit, that a receiver's going to show out. You're going to see them on, running on air and making catches, especially, impressive catches if Trey Lance is throwing him the football, because, my God, everything is high with Trey Lance, or it's skipped or it's off target. Trey Lance just flat out, I'll say it now, and we'll get into more of this as we go along, but flat out, Trey Lance does not look like an NFL player to me throughout these practices so far, Brian.
Bobby, it's been a little bit of a struggle. Kind of felt like early in the practices, the 7-on-7 work that they got, I felt like he was not as committed to throwing the ball down the field. I felt like that, remember Cooper Rush was the one that was not committed to throwing the ball down the field when he was playing. And now it's like Cooper Rush is saying, well, if they're going to give Trey Lance work or give Trey Lance this job, I might as well rip some deep outs or throw some comebacks or try and he threw a beautiful ball to Tyron Billy Johnson for a touchdown today that beat Carson. I mean, a beautiful pass. And that's kind of not that's not in Cooper Rush's MO. But you're right about Trey Lance. There's been times where even in drills against air, he's had to throw balls to the outside that have tended to sail on him. He's more comfortable throwing the ball into the middle of the field than he is throwing the ball to the outside.
Yep.
It just appears to me that he just doesn't have the control of his passes. And so we'll see. He's been alternating with Cooper Rush behind. He's been getting work with the twos. He was with the 2-minute drill today. He was with the threes. They got stopped on the goal line. Great defensive stand by the threes. On defense, not a lot of time to react, not a lot of time to get the play call in. Kids did a great job of marking receivers. They took advantage of Trey Lance a little bit, maybe some indecision there. I'll have to see the tape, as the coaches like to say, if there was anybody open. Was there Schoonmaker or was Span Ford or somebody open that he didn't see? Because he pulled the ball down really quick and tried to hit for the goal line. And they did a great job when you start to talk about the linebackers there, reacting to the ball and then keeping him from getting into the end zone.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there are times out there he's throwing against, like you mentioned, he's throwing against air. He's throwing passes in the flat. And it's like you're sailing everything to the running backs in the flat. And at that point, that to me almost just feels like that's not even a physical question, or that almost just feels like somebody who's in their head and is not rising to the occasion here, is not rising to the moment of this. Now, look, it's also the fact that this is the first time we've really consistently seen him. We didn't see him all last year. We don't get to see the quarterbacks out at practice during the season. And so getting him in these off-season practices and then into training camp here, and I know there's a tendency everybody likes to throw out that, like, I love Dak Prescott. I think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And so when they hear the criticism of Trey Lance, there's a lot of people who I think have thrown back at me that, you're not being objective about it. It's because Trey Lance is threatening Dak's job. I promise you, there is nothing about what Trey Lance has done out here that threatens Dak Prescott's job. And I mean, the most disappointing aspect of this is he hasn't even looked physically impressive. Like, I don't watch him throw and think, man, that ball
the athletic ability, the ability to move. That part, I think that
part of it, the arm talent, though. When I watch him throw,
I understand.
That ball does not look impressive coming out of his hand.
Yeah, there's times where the ball does sail on him, and I think that's why he tends to try to throw balls towards the middle of the field. Now, the other day he checked down. Nick Eatman used to call it check down Charlie, and that was something that everybody else was trying to kind of rip some throws. He was throwing the ball underneath. And then 2 days ago, he was more interested in there was a couple of times where Jalen Brooks was running some in cuts, and it was right to left, and Lance hit him back-to-back plays, and it was a little bit further down the field than what we've seen in the past. But yeah, there has to be some concern. Let's also be honest about this too. I just remember sometimes, and folks, please don't kill me for this saying this, and Bobby, don't kill me. I know you want to kill me already.
I don't.
But now Choppy, you might want to kill, but not me.
Definitely.
But we remember some bad practices from Dak Prescott.
Still to this day has thrown plenty of interceptions this camp so far.
He threw a ball today that got intercepted. He had no business throwing. But
I told Sean Sharif in that end zone when we saw him throw the pick to Kendricks, I said, when he let go of the ball, I saw Kendricks. I don't know what he was looking at.
I understand that Cooks is not a big guy. So with Nahshon Wright behind Cooks and and Kendricks dropping the way he dropped, I don't think Dak ever saw Kendricks. I don't think he saw him. And that's what we've talked about before. But anyway, my point is I remember Dak Prescott not being a very good practice player.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if Trey Lance has some similar traits, that he's not a great at. And this is when Dak, when he first started, in 2016, when he was, Dan Mullen at Mississippi State will tell you that Dak was a terrible practice player.
Yeah.
But then remember that
he's a gamer.
That game against the Rams in the Coliseum. Oh my God, he's lighting them up. He's lighting up. He's throwing the ball to Des Bryant, and you're like, whoa, where'd this kid come from?
Yep.
So maybe but I don't disagree with you. There's some throws that Trey Lance makes that I think get away from him. And he's got to do a better job of controlling those.
You are listening to the Love the Star podcast. The Love the Star is an Odyssey podcast. You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Brian, let's continue with some of our takeaways, some of our thoughts here from training camp so far, some of the things we've seen out of this practice. We just talked about Trey Lance there. If you want some more positives out here, and
there's a lot of positives.
Yeah, there are definitely some positives, and I don't want anybody to hear a name and go, well, that's not a sexy name. But look, for instance, I'll tell you a guy who popped to me today, Brian.
You're going to say Nathaniel Pete? Oh, I thought you were saying
Buddy Johnson, the linebacker. Buddy Johnson made some plays today. And the other one, and you mentioned him a little bit just a few minutes ago, and a guy I know they're excited about. It's one of those names that the more you hang around the practice fields and hear people talking, or you get a chance to chat with somebody off to the side, they keep mentioning the name Kalen Carson. And Carson is a guy that they felt like they stole in the draft. That was the guy that when they picked him, they had him graded much higher than where they took him.
Did anybody tell you where they had him on the board? Was he a third-round guy?
I've not been told. I was told he was a blinking light when he got taken. That he was just way far and away above where they picked him. And they picked him back into the 5th is where he was at. And this is a guy who I think when you saw him on tape at Wake Forest, that didn't look like a back end of the 5th round player.
No.
And a guy out here so far at training camp who does not look like a back end of the 5th round player. That's somebody who I don't know. Early on, I think you can say is somebody who's going to challenge Jordan Lewis for some snaps and work his way in. But a guy also in Jordan Lewis who I think that the Cowboys coaching staff is excited to have back.
They love Jordan Lewis.
Yeah, I think they're more than happy to have him back, excited to have him here in tow with them. And so, but it's something where the corner room right now is a group that I think they feel really comfortable and confident with, and guys that they're out here. But Buddy Johnson is the guy who made an impression to me. John Stevens is somebody who, the more you watch him out here running, it's just so smooth. Somebody who's 6'5", 222 or whatever the hell he is. He moves so fluidly for a guy who's his size. I know that, we've done a lot to throw dirt on Chuma Edoga, and I don't think that, everybody believes Tyler Guyton, if Tyler Guyton's not starting week 1, that's something that would be a disappointment, but I definitely think it's been a possibility. We talked about this the whole time, that Edoga was in contention for that, but Edoga, I heard getting a lot of positive praise just on the practice field from Zach Martin, who was watching from afar, and you could hear him calling out, like, there you go, Chuma, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I think all of that's really encouraging now.
I think what he's trying to do is be encouraging to Chuma Edoga, because a lot of people are throwing dirt on him.
Yeah.
And these players, they act like they don't. Oh, by the way, I got a confirmation on Carson, the 3rd round on that board.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. That makes sense, because being in the 5th here and he was way above.
Blinking
that
light.
Makes sense that it's the 3rd. Now here's a couple quick things that are I think a little bit troubling. Tyler Guyton was out there with the first team. That's good. But, you mentioned Cooper Beebe had been working with the 2s. Today he was snapping for the 3rd team, and he has had some issues with snaps to this point. He's still kind of coming around, getting comfortable there. I know you guys got a chance to interview him on the G-Bag Nation on 105.10.
He says he hadn't played a lot of. He hadn't done a lot of. He's been trying to work on his snapping. He's been trying to. Before he knew. He's been a guard and a tackle and was a center a long time ago. So this might be how Brock Hoffman and maybe even TJ Bass,
By the way, Brian, I don't know about you, but I keep the Brock Hoffman praise keeps pouring out of people in the organization. That's Bobby, his job, I think.
Yeah, I do too.
That's his job, and I think Mike Solari is completely comfortable with that. The Cowboys offensive line coach. There's a lot of people.
We'll see, but you're not wrong.
There's a lot of people who will tell you Brock Hoffman has the mental processing skills. Brock Hoffman's tough. Brock Hoffman has the attitude you want there, anchoring your offensive line, chip on his shoulder kind of guy. I mean, that's somebody who I think we're all, as we submit our lists here at 105 through the Fan to Cowboys PR and say, hey, can you get us this guy, this guy? I think Brock Hoffman's somebody that's on all of our lists, just trying to figure out, hey, we'd like a chance to learn more about this guy, talk to him a little bit, see what he's got. But you keep hearing rave reviews from people who say, this guy is sharp and he's tough and he brings an edge that's really needed here along the offensive line. Is there anybody else here? And let's quickly touch again on one more bit of bad news, because the report's been out there. I know we've gone 16 minutes into this without mentioning it so far. Sam Williams, it sounds like torn ACL is the report. That's the fear. They're waiting for an MRI to confirm it, which I imagine by the time this is released, we will have the confirmation of it. But that would be the end of Sam Williams' season, presumably. And Brian,
I think Tom Pelissero. I think
Tom Pelissero said it is a torn ACL, is presumed. They were waiting for confirmation.
I didn't see. Okay, there you go.
All right. Yeah, it is a presumed torn ACL that they're waiting for confirmation on. But Sam Williams, if he is out for the rest of the year, you are rail thin on the defensive line in terms of your depth.
I'll say this. I did not believe that Marshawn Nealon had the explosiveness or the quickness or the bend to be an effective pass rusher in the National Football League right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kid's proven me wrong.
He's played a lot at defensive tackle so far, too.
He's played, but when you put him at end, he comes off the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
He comes off the ball. I was worried about him playing really tall and having no pass rush moves and just trying to kind of power pass people. He's got the ability to get low and to get his shoulder. I mean, with the first couple of steps. This might be one of those opportunities where you get him, you throw him in there, and you're right, they're thin at the position. But man, maybe they can make a deal for Randy Gregory. Like
you know what the buzz is right now, Brian, while we've been sitting here on this podcast?
Is it Randy Gregory?
No. Somebody tweeted just a star. That's all they tweeted was a star emoji. And now everybody's assuming that Carl Lawson is indicating that he's on his way to Dallas.
Oh, did Carl Lawson, did he tweeted the star?
All he did was he tweeted a star. That's all he tweeted was an emoji of a star. We don't know what that means. But man, if I don't know, that might be.
Did he play for Zimmer? Did he play for Zimmer somewhere? Cincinnati.
That's a good question. I think that was post. I think that was post Zimmer in Cincinnati. But
my bad.
But I mean, it is something where I gotta look and see if he at any point, because he is a free agent right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cincinnati 2017. So that would have been post Zimmer.
Post Zimmer, yeah.
But you're still looking at they're gonna have to find some depth here. Here's the biggest problem for me, Brian. And I have this impression. So
you're saying we got to watch some Carl Lawson tape tonight before I go to bed?
Oh, is that just torture for you to watch Carl Lawson tape? I know you've enjoyed it you've been wishing for Carl Lawson for about a decade. So I think you're more than happy.
I'm so happy to watch Carl Lawson tape.
I think you're more than happy.
If you really want me to watch it, I'll lay in bed tonight and watch Carl Lawson tape.
I know, just torture, having to watch Carl Lawson work his advanced pass rush moves. Here's the thing is that my impression coming out of this, watching these practices, there's still a lot of talent on this football team, no doubt about it. But
still feel like it's going to win 9 games.
Man, this is a team that has to be 100% healthy.
Yeah.
If they lose, when they start losing a Sam Williams, even somebody like Sam Williams or somebody else, they don't have the depth to lose people. And I don't know, like, this is the top 22 players on your team, the 11 starters on both sides, I think you can compete with a lot of teams in the NFL. Guy 23 through 53, man, they're thin. They are very thin. It's not, you had a lot of your depth get taken away from you this offseason, and there wasn't a lot done to replenish it. And look, I think we're already seeing out here at practice, you talk about being kind of surprised or proven wrong already about Marshawn Nealand.
Yeah. I feel like I have a little bit.
Tyler Guyton had some good reps against Micah Parsons. We talk about Kalen Carson looking impressive. Ryan Flournoy looked good before he got hurt. So I think the personnel department, Leofow personnel department did everything they could to replenish some of that depth, but there's limits. There's limits to what you can do if you're not going to retain certain guys. And I think that's one of my big takeaways coming out of this first few days of practice here is, man, the margins are really small for losing guys to injury.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough thing. I mean, and especially when you lose guys that you think are projected starters. Sam Williams and stuff. But like I said, there's plans just might now need to change for Nealand. You know, he's gonna, Tank has been taking some reps at right end. Maybe Tank as the right end, Marshawn Nealand playing more of a natural, more of a left end. You know?
Yeah.
I still, Bobby, I spent an hour with Mazi Smith today. I spent an hour with him.
I've not seen it yet.
I spent an hour with him today.
Mm-hmm.
I made it a point to be on the platform behind the defense as they were working, defensive line as they were working. And I think Jeff Zugina, did I say his name right? Jeff Zugina?
I think it's Skinia, but I can't. I'm guessing.
All I know is that in Green Bay, I think we had him on the board in the 3rd round, and he went in the 7th round, I think is what happened. But he's an interesting guy. He coaches so hard.
He could say he looks like he could still play. He's a unit out there.
He is a big man. But anyway, the things that and I wanted to spend an hour with Mazi because I wanted to learn how engaged he really was. I wanted to learn, how's he taking coaching? Is it a struggle for him? Body language looked bad. He looks engaged. The problem that he has is, we talk about he's a strong guy. The problem he has, I think, is his balance. Because what they were coaching him on, the Cowboys, what their big thing with their defensive linemen is they don't want their feet to leave the ground. So it's tap, 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 tap. When they make their move, it's tap, 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 tap. And the thing that Mazi, when they were working on scoop blocks and double team blocks and all that, you could see Coach Zugina was working with him because he becomes a one-legged football player.
Yep.
He gets tilted and his foot comes up off the ground. And you could see it. Like, there were several times where it happened, and Jeff was just like, foot down, keep the foot down, keep the foot down. And Zimmer came over, and they were working on the drills, quick feet, keep them on the ground. Quick feet, keep them on the ground. That was the coaching point. And there were a couple of different times where, with Mazi, he got knocked up, and he's like, and Jeff's telling him, you can't be a one-legged football player. You got to get your feet, keep your feet down, keep your space, keep your feet there, And Will McClay came over. Will McClay was down there watching. He dapped up Mazi. That's his guy. That's Will's the guy that stood in the draft room.
Will fought for him. Yeah,
he fought for him. Man, and Will's not going to walk away from that one. But this is a very, very, very important. And the problem is, when you see guys like, Oso Digizuwa, he does every drill perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is a perfect drill guy to watch. I mean, I'm just like, wow, this guy, the steps, the hands, the feet, everything that needs to be done.
Motor technique, it's all there.
Tank, same way. And then, you're watching on defense, and a guy like Denzel Daxon is getting more praise. Good job, Dax. Good job. Good job. You're like, oh, okay. Come on, Mazi. So they're coaching that kid hard. They're coaching Mazi hard. And he doesn't look disengaged. He really doesn't. He's trying to do it's just there's some limits what he's, like that saying, the balance and the feet sometimes.
I'll say this, by the way, he's trying, the effort is there. I do think it's dangerous to read too much into body language, but I think you do see discouragement. I think there are times he seems discouraged.
I totally agree with you, because when Will came over to dap him up, you could tell Will kind of popped him like, hey, and then Mazi acknowledged him, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think effort is there. He's not always encouraged. He feels a little down at times, and it's almost like beating himself up. I don't think it's taking. I don't think it's taking down others. It's beating himself up a little bit.
He is super tough on himself. He was the first defensive lineman out at practice today. He was working on stretching and doing. He's engaged. It's just I think the frustration level of him is pretty strong right now.
Yeah, and it's frustration with himself and discouragement. I think he feels like he's just not holding up which is. Yeah, it's fine. You have guys who they want to do better. They want to, they want to have success there, and they want to live up to those expectations. It's completely natural and expected, and hopefully something that they're going to be able to get out of him. You are listening to the Love the Star podcast. The Love the Star is an Odyssey podcast. You can find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Brian, it is now time for our Dean Julia Love the Star mailbag. We're turning things over to our
questions?
Listeners. We got plenty of them. Plenty of people want to know lots of things. Let's jump in with the first one here from Cesar Lucero, who he says, I'm curious to see Junior Fohoko, how he's doing in this camp this year. I know it's early, but does he look better than last year in camp? Brian, he's one of the ones who's been pretty anonymous for me so far.
Man, I am so sorry. The gentleman with a really cool name. I'm with you on this one. And I was down there watching drills for an hour today, and it seemed very anonymous. And then watching the team period, and maybe with pads, this is a whole nother thing. His life, Junior Fohoko's life, was built on quickness and explosiveness and getting up the field. I don't think I've seen that yet.
Nope.
I don't think I've seen that. And so when he brought up that name, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of these defensive linemen I've noticed. And maybe if I watch the tape, I'd notice more. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong guy. But I kind of feel like that if guys get in position and tag off and don't tackle and all that stuff, that I'm going to it's like I say, it's it's Denzel Daxton. I'm noticing him. How am I noticing him and not Junior Fohoko? So that's my
and Todd Archer, that was one that he mentioned as, hey, this is a big camp for him and he might be trade bait. His sponsor is not here. It's Junior Fohoko and Eric Scott. Their two sponsors in this building were Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn gone now. That might be something that is worth monitoring. Next question here from Stevie. He says, who's leading the wide receiver 3 competition right now? Obviously, we don't have CeeDee Lamb, so wide receiver 3 at the moment is kind of wide receiver 2 as well. But I think we both agree this has been a really good start to camp, the most consistent camp that Jalen Tolbert has had in his first 3 years.
Boy, he's making you proud.
He's been really good, and Todd Archer keeps letting me hear about it. Yeah. He keeps coming over and telling me, he's like, you're trying to throw dirt on Jalen Tolbert there. He's looking pretty good. And so Jalen Tolbert does look good. I think Jalen Brooks has looked good as well at times. It's just Tolbert has been all the receivers I have not seen. I've been impressed with 4 or 5 receivers so far. Tolbert is the one who is the most impressive out of that group. So to me, that's default. He's the guy right now who holds that wide receiver 3.
We talked about mental toughness. We talked about stacking good days. We talked about being consistent. We talked about fighting through being tired, being hurt, being all those things, feeling sorry for yourself. Jalen Tolbert has taken every rep to heart, and the majority of the times where he's given opportunities to make plays, he's been successful. He's been the best wide receiver in the camp so far through 4 practices that I've seen.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not even just he's the best one of the ones competing for 3. He's been better than Cooks.
He's been better. He's one of the best receivers they've had in camp. Yes.
Now, would you? We talked about some of the guys who've stood out. Those are the others that are of interest to you, right? The ones we mentioned earlier: Racey McMath, Tyron Billy Johnson. Those are the other guys who have kind of popped on the back end of the roster, right?
Yeah, and it does me no good. And you mentioned Ryan Flournoy. It does him no good for him to be working by you and I over there. You and I talked about this, I believe, on the practice field a little bit. To me, he's looking very practice squad-like right now. Is a season going to be ruined because you don't get back? And Britt Brown and him, I'm sure, are busting their ass to get back. But man, you just can't keep missing opportunity, is because there's spots. There's clearly spots here, and you got to be able to take that spot.
Yeah, and do you think that's when you mentioned him being practice squad, like, do you think that's the Cowboys are coming out here at this camp and they see things a little bit and are maybe looking at, and if he's a little banged up, might not be bad to slow play that a little bit. Maybe we're able to just kind of, we'll be able to stash this away for a little bit for the future.
There you go. You're learning.
So that's one of those questions there. All right, next question from Brian. Oh, we got a Brian. This is with an I instead of a Y. Question from Brian here. How has Royce Freeman looked and the running back competition as a whole? Again, we're talking about anonymous. Royce Freeman, I have not noticed a bit out here at practice, Brian. I know you mentioned Nathaniel Pete earlier. Was Pete somebody who caught your eye?
Yeah, today Pete had a run where they ran it off the left side. He actually hit the hole with some quickness, got up on the second level, kind of got the crowd going, ooh, one of those things like we were watching fireworks at the 4th of July. But, yeah, hit the hole quick, blitz pickup. My man, Trey Lance goes back to pass, blitz pickup, 36 steps up, gets the linebacker out of the way so Lance can throw the ball. If you're going to run the ball and you're going to blitz pickup, you'll find your ways onto football rosters. And Pete is not the biggest guy. He's a small guy, but he is explosive, and he does have the willingness to step up and take on blockers or take on backs or linebackers, excuse me. So I would say noticed him more so than I noticed Freeman, Connor, Malik Davis. I don't notice those guys. Like I noticed the look, because people were telling me this kid's got some juice, and I'm like, okay, well, let me see the juice, And he showed a little juice today, but he also showed me some awareness and toughness on the blitz pickup.
Well, and you mentioned that word there. What was the word that Mitch LaPointe, the Cowboys college scouting director, what was the word that he used when he talked to us on DallasCowboys.com? We said, what are you looking for in a running back from this rookie class? What he said was juice. I need juice. I need high-end speed. Mm-hmm. I need guys who have that burst. That's all stuff that Nathaniel Pete checks those boxes. That's a 4.3 speed kind of guy. Yeah,
he showed it today, and let's see, in the pads and stuff, and they do more 9-on-7 periods and things where it's actually running the ball, and see if the line can create opportunities for him. But he got my attention again. Quickness and a blitz pickup.
Next question here from Jack. He said, if you had to bet your mortgage, who takes more snaps in 2025 for the Cowboys, Dak Prescott or Trey Lance? How are you feeling after the Jerry and Dak press conferences, Brian, and after seeing Trey Lance out here for a couple days of practice? I'll say this. After watching Trey Lance practice for a couple days, I'm not taking any less than 80 a year if I'm Dak. Is that too strong?
I would say you have a good opinion on this one there, Robert.
I'll say I think there's a 0% chance that Trey Lance is taking snaps for the Cowboys in 2025. And I think there's at least a chance that Dak is. So if I had to bet my mortgage, Dak.
Might be a poor practice guy, Bobby. We'll give him a chance. He might be a gamer. It's tough. It's tough because I want to believe. I was on, like I said, I was on with Mike Lombardi on VSiN today on the Vegas Sports Information Network, I think is what it is. And they were asking me about Trey Lance, and I was trying to describe Trey Lance and all that. But then when you start to talk about,
did you say, have you ever seen Uncle Rico throw a football in Napoleon Dynamite and it just sails? That's what it looks like.
But Mike asked me. Mike goes, why would Dak Prescott even sign now? Why would you not go test free agency? Why would you not? If why you might even get more money.
Honestly,
you might even get more. And so Mike's to the point, like, if you're Dak Prescott, just keep playing, and then and test free agency in 2025. So maybe neither one of these guys are going to play a snap for you.
That's possible. I would just say right now, and I didn't feel great hearing Jerry talk about Dak's future. I didn't hear hearing Dak talk about Dak's future. It sounds when you listen to both of them, it sounds more on the table than ever before that Dak is not here next year. But I still think there's a better chance that Dak is starting next year than Trey Lance. I don't know how the Cowboys could comfortably say Trey Lance will start at quarterback for us, given what they've seen.
I don't think so either.
Last one
right now.
Right now. They just have not seen it, I don't think.
He hasn't looked, not right now.
Last question here from Todd. Todd says, do you think Jake Ferguson could be capable of an all-pro season in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yes.
Brian, he looks in shape. He looks like he's cut down a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's a guy who I think within this building, they feel like that guy can be a leader here. Yeah. That guy is somebody who the rest of the team can rally around.
Yeah. He moves well. He catches the ball well. Run after catch is great. He's tough. He'll take routes inside. He'll get vertical on you. There's a lot to like about Jake Ferguson's game.
I think even though they liked him, I don't think they had any idea. They had a projection. I think Jake Ferguson has exceeded their expectations in terms of what kind of game athlete he can be, like within the game, outside of testing numbers, just his play speed and his ability. I think he's impressed them with some of the athleticism that I don't know that they totally anticipated.
I think Hendershot's shown up a little bit too. Have you noticed him?
Yeah, and Jake Ferguson talked about what we interviewed him on 105 Through the Fan. Jake talked about how he's been in Hendershot's ear a little bit about like, hey, come on, let's step up here, be who you are.
I agree.
And Hendershot, by the way, or Ferguson, to his credit, we asked him, who are the guys that every year we always hear, oh, this guy's making a leap, this guy's good. He named 2 players for us, and I've heard the same names after he said it. They've showed up at practice, and I've heard people glowing about him. The 2 guys he said he thinks we're taking a leap, Jalen Tolbert and Damone Clark. And we've heard positive things about both of those guys.
A lot of whispers about Jalen Clark. And I would have never – I'm assuming Damone Clark, yeah. A lot of positivity. I think my LSU guy – I'm so excited for my LSU guy, but – I think he's with the right group of coaches. Mm-hmm. I think he's with the right group. I really do. These guys will help him. I really believe that. So I'm excited. He looks good running around out there, man. He is always going to look good running around out there. Just needs to know where he's going.
I think Mike Zimmer's got a plan for him.
You think Mike likes him?
I do, and I think Mike Zimmer has an idea of like, all right, I think I know how to use, because we've talked about that. Damone Clark needs to fit into a specific box,
right?
And I think Mike Zimmer has a vision for that, which I think would be very beneficial. All right, that does it for us here on the Love of the Star today. Thank you so much for joining us. Chillboys.com, promo code STAR.
Help us.
15% off. Help us. Help Chill Boys. Show your support. Do it, do it for them. Chill Boys, we love them over here.
Hey, can I show you something real quick, Bobby? Yeah, real quick. Hang on just a second.
Yeah.
Hang on.
While Brian gets his Chill Boys, I'm going to continue to remind you, chillboys.com, promo code STAR. That's 15% off your order at checkout. They've been incredibly supportive of us. If you want to support us, then go on out there and buy you some Chill Boys and just enter that promo code for your discount and for the opportunity to go ahead and support us. And Brian Broaddus is back now. I can only assume with, there we go. There's Brian's purple LSU Chill Boys underwear right there.
They look a little big, don't they? Look a little big. They're not that big.
right there on the camera for you. So if you want to get into Brian Broaddus's underwear, you can do so for 15% off at chillboys.com.
Super comfortable. The best.
Promo code STAR right there. For Brian Broaddus, I'm Bobby Belt. We will talk to you guys again later. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest updates. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.